Before we finally win this battle, and I should hasten to say that there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to win. I'm increasingly convinced of this. But before we finally do see victory, we must carry the truth to every man, woman, and child in America. I have no idea of what each of you is going to do in the critical days that lie ahead. It may be much, it may be little. It may be nothing at all. I don't know. Only you can answer that question. But ladies and gentlemen, whatever it is you decide to do for your country, do it soon. Do it now. Every minute that you delay further will add dearly to the price
of ultimate victory.
Mr. Griffin, that was over 50 years ago. Where are we now?
Hearing that phrase after all these years is kind of a shocker because I didn't realize really at the time how accurate it was going to be. But we're in the middle of it now, and so the ultimate victory is still ahead of us. And we still have time to reverse the trend and not to pay the ultimate price.
How did you know back then what would be happening today?
It's a long story, of course, but I did take a fascinating tour of the Communist bookstore in Los Angeles when I was very, very young. I was working for an insurance company. I was Mr. Corporate America, you know. That was the period when the hippie, image was pretty popular, and a lot of these guys in that bookstore were in that uniform. They looked at me kind of cautiously, and I looked at them very cautiously, and first thing you know, we're talking, and I think they felt I was a potential recruit.
Yes, we've always been quite willing to talk about
We'll talk about socialism anywhere, in the streets or in the Senate, anywhere,
Is there a communist faction making a big power play for SDS at this time?
Is there any communists back here?
I guess there is.
They invited me to come to their study groups, they called them. They were really the recruiting funnel, And I didn't have to pretend to be interested because I was interested. I wanted to see what these guys were up to. So that's how I got into it, just out of my curiosity. And of course, the more I read, the more I realized that these guys were deadly serious. And so my crusader gene said, hey buddy, you better stop worrying about the corporate ladder and making money and looking good and start doing something about it. And I'm glad I did, because after that point, my life had a meaning. It had a purpose more than just self-centered.
Who are some of the key figures behind this agenda?
I'm not sure we can name names. We know that there are layers and layers of control and influence, sort of pyramidal in form. At the bottom level, of course, it's just all the common people that most of them don't even know what's going on. In my view, the enemy is in a category called collectivism, and that's the word that applies to all of these things: socialism, communism, fascism, Nazism. All of these things are merely variants of collectivism. That is the philosophy based on the assumption that the group is more important than the individual, and that the individual must be sacrificed, if necessary, for the greater good of the greater number. That's the trick. You're doing this for society.
Chairman Mao says that looking upon the interest of the revolution as his very life, he should be more concerned about the party and the masses than about any individual, be it mother, wife, or child, and more concerned about others than himself.
It's not for you. You are not doing this for yourself. If you are at all like me, your own health, your own risk, is not a big rational driver of all of your actions.
It used to be that an invader could come in with a superior army, and people resent it, but they obey because if they don't, they get killed. Now, if they want to conquer people in this environment, they have to do it through the mind. And of course, today, after all the technology that we have, and the control over the communications and the images and the school system and the media, they have absolute control over the funnel of information that comes to the average person. And the average person, if they're not aware that there's a real war going on for their mind, they will be helpless. And they'll be the ones that'll come out and quote all the slogans and say, yes, we have to give up our liberties because it's for the greater good of the greater number.